Autumn retreated to her desk, heart hammering. Her presence was jeopardizing Dominic's position, the very thing he valued above all else. That afternoon, as if confirming her fears, the universe delivered its cruelest blow. While carrying Dominic's specially prepared coffee, she collided with a messenger, sending scalding liquid cascading over the Singapore acquisition documents. The silence that followed was deafening. "I can fix this," she stammered, frantically blotting the papers. "I have digital copies. I'll reprint everything immediately." "Miss Hayes," Dominic's voice was quieter than she'd ever heard it. "That will be all for today." That evening, a gilded envelope arrived at her apartment containing an offer letter from Meridian Creative, a prestigious design firm, offering double her current salary. The accompanying note simply read, "Your talents are wasted at Blackwood Industries. Consider your options carefully." It was clearly orchestrated by Hampton, a generous bribe to remove herself from Dominic's orbit. The worst part, it might be the best solution for everyone. When she arrived the next morning, Dominic was already in his office, door firmly closed. On her desk sat a small package inside, a delicate crystal paperweight containing a single perfect lily, suspended forever in clear glass, a parting gift. Her chest tightened painfully throughout the day. Dominic remained sequestered with the legal team. When he finally emerged at 7, his face showed the strain of difficult decisions. "The Singapore documents are prepared for your signature," she said quietly, "and Mr. Hampton requested confirmation of tomorrow's board presentation." "Thank you." He paused, noticing the crystal paperweight now positioned on her desk. "It suits your workspace. It's beautiful." "Thank you." She hesitated. "Mr. Blackwood, the Singapore acquisition will proceed," he interrupted. "I've ensured all contingencies are addressed." "That's good news for the company." "Certainly." His expression revealed nothing. "You've received an offer from Meridian." "Not a question." Of course he knew. "I did." She met his gaze directly. "Did you arrange it?" "No." A muscle tightened in his jaw. "Though it would be advantageous for your career, would it? Meridian values creativity. Your talents are constrained here." "Is that your way of suggesting I should accept?" Thunder rumbled outside, London's skies darkening prematurely. Neither mentioned the real question hovering between them. Was he letting her go? "You should make whatever decision benefits you, Ms. Hayes." "That's not an answer." Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating his face, composed as always, yet somehow different. Autumn, her name on his lips, still felt like a rare occurrence. "I cannot allow personal considerations to influence business decisions." "Is that what I am? A personal consideration?" "You are a complication I didn't anticipate." The admission cost him visibly. Autumn stepped closer, heart pounding. "And is that why you've kept me around?" "Because I'm unpredictable." "I kept you because you see what others don't." His voice dropped lower. "You look at disorder and find patterns. You look at me and see something worth salvaging." Rain began lashing the windows, a perfect backdrop to the storm inside the office. "You don't need salvaging." Dominic, using his first name, felt like crossing an invisible boundary. "You just need remembering. The person you were before you built all those walls, he's still there." For one breathtaking moment, Dominic's perfect composure cracked. His hand reached toward her face but stopped, hovering in the space between them, a bridge unfinished. "The board meeting is at 9 tomorrow, he said finally, withdrawing his hand. "Hampton expects the Singapore documents signed. And will they be?" "That depends on what I decide tonight." His eyes held hers. "What we both decide." Imperfect symmetry. Dawn broke over London, pale light filtering through rain-washed windows. Autumn arrived at the office earlier than usual, the Meridian offer letter in her bag like a leaden weight. The decision had kept her awake all night. Logic said take the offer, better pay, creative freedom, no more walking on eggshells. Yet something held her back, something beyond professional considerations. She was arranging Dominic's morning reports when a text message arrived from an unknown number. "Board meeting changed to 8 a.m. Hampton's orders. Conference room up." Suspicious. She tried calling Vivian for confirmation, but there was no answer. With growing unease, she gathered the Singapore documents and headed for the conference room. She found not the board, but Theodore Hampton alone, examining the acquisition papers. "Ms. Hayes," prompt as always. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Dominic trained you well." The meeting was rescheduled. "A small deception, I'm afraid. I needed to speak with you privately." He gestured to a chair. "Have you considered my offer?" "Your offer," she repeated. "Not Meridian's. A distinction without a difference. I have interests in many companies." Hampton leaned forward. "Blackwood is making a catastrophic error with Singapore. The acquisition contains hidden liabilities that will devastate our share value. Dominic refuses to listen to reason. So you're circumventing him by removing me." Autumn remained standing. "I don't understand my relevance." "Don't play naive. You've become his weak point." Hampton's expression hardened. "Dominic built this company on calculated precision. Now he hesitates, second guesses, makes allowances. The board notices these ... inconsistencies." "You mean he's showing humanity?" "I mean he's showing weakness. This company thrives on strength." Hampton tapped the documents. "You have two choices. Take the Meridian position, or witness Blackwood Industries' systematic dismantling, beginning with today's vote of no confidence." The ultimatum hung in the air. interrupted by the conference room door opening. "Ah, Theodore." Early as always, Dominic entered, his calm demeanor betrayed only by a slight tightening around his eyes when he saw Autumn. "Though I don't recall inviting Ms. Hayes to this discussion." "I received a message," Autumn began. "A misunderstanding." Clearly, Hampton's smile was razor. "We were just discussing her exciting new opportunity at Meridian." "Indeed." Dominic's expression revealed nothing. "Ms. Hayes, would you excuse us?" As she turned to leave, Hampton called after her. "The offer expires at noon, my dear. Choose wisely." Outside, Autumn paced the hallway. Whatever happened in that room would determine futures beyond just her own. Through the door, muffled voices grew increasingly heated. "Your personal feelings compromise this company's interests. This has nothing to do with feelings and everything to do with integrity." The board members began arriving, exchanging uncomfortable glances as they entered the increasingly tense atmosphere. At precisely 9 a.m. As the meeting began, Autumn made her decision. She pulled out her phone and dialed. 3 hours later, the boardroom door finally opened. Executives filed out, expressions ranging from shocked to contemplative. Hampton emerged last, face flushed with barely contained fury. "This isn't finished." "Blackwood," he hissed, storming past Autumn without acknowledgement. Dominic appeared in the doorway, looking simultaneously exhausted and resolute. When he saw Autumn waiting, something softened in his expression. "You're still here." "I work here, don't I?" she replied with a tentative smile. "After what just transpired, I wasn't certain." Back in his office, Dominic loosened his tie, a small but significant break from his usual rigid formality. "Hampton's been removed from the board," he said without preamble. "The Singapore acquisition will proceed, but under restructured terms that mitigate the hidden liabilities." Autumn's eyes widened. Hidden liabilities? Then Hampton was telling the truth about that part. Partially, what he omitted was his own involvement in concealing them. Dominic's expression darkened. He stood to profit substantially if we proceeded blindly. "How did you discover this?" "I didn't." For the first time since she'd known him, Dominic Blackwood smiled a real smile that transformed his entire face. "You did." From his desk, he retrieved a folder containing the coffee-stained Singapore documents from yesterday's accident. "Your coffee revealed hidden text in the appendix, invisible ink activated by heat and acidity." "Quite clever, actually." "My clumsiness exposed corporate espionage." Autumn laughed incredulously. "That's poetic indeed." His eyes held hers. "It seems chaos has its advantages." "So what happens now, professionally?" "Restructuring, new board appointments, damage control." He moved closer. "Personally, that depends." "On what?" "On whether you've accepted Hampton's offer." Autumn reached into her bag and pulled out the Meridian letter, torn neatly down the middle. "I declined, about 3 hours ago." Something like relief washed over his features. "Without knowing the outcome here, that was a significant risk." "Some things are worth the risk." She took a deep breath. "I called Meridian's actual HR director. Turns out they had no idea about any offer to me. Hampton fabricated the whole thing." "That doesn't surprise me. Theodore never could resist manipulation." Dominic's expression grew serious, but his assessment wasn't entirely wrong. "You are extraordinarily talented, Autumn. Your potential extends far beyond administrative work." "Are you firing me after I just turned down another job?" "No." For the first time, uncertainty colored his voice. "I'm offering you a choice. Our creative department needs restructuring. With your background at Morgan Creative, you're qualified to lead it." Shattered porcelain. Dominic Blackwood's morning routine never varied. Black coffee, Financial Times, market reports, all consumed in precisely 37 minutes before his 7 a.m. arrival at Blackwood Industries' gleaming headquarters. His corner office, like his life, was a monument to precision stock white furniture, transparent glass, and not a single object out of place. "Mr. Blackwood, your 9 o'clock appointment is here," his executive assistant, Vivian, announced through the intercom, her voice carefully modulated to match his preference for emotional neutrality. Dominic straightened his already perfectly aligned titanium pen. "Send them in." He reviewed the file one last time. The company needed a temporary executive assistant while Vivian took medical leave. Human Resources had selected 3 candidates, but 2 had withdrawn after hearing about working directly under the glacier, as employees secretly called him. This left only one, a Ms. Autumn Hayes, whose resume showed promise but lacked the pedigree he typically demanded. The door opened, and Dominic's ordered world tilted on its axis. Autumn Hayes wasn't what he expected. Where most applicants arrived in somber business attire, she wore a crisp white blouse with a soft lavender blazer. Her curly auburn hair resisted the neat bun she'd attempted, with wayward strands framing her face. She carried not just a portfolio but also what appeared to be a ceramic mug wrapped in colorful paper. "Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. I'm Autumn Hayes, and I just wanted to say how excited I am for this opportunity." "Oh, I brought you something. It's a welcome gift." "Well, not that you need welcoming to your own company, obviously." But Dominic raised an eyebrow, silencing her rambling. "Ms. Hayes, at Blackwood Industries, we value brevity and precision." Her smile dimmed momentarily before returning with renewed determination. "Right. Sorry, brevity, I can do that. Your resume indicates experience at Morgan Creative. That's a significantly different environment from ours. Yes, it was colorful there, literally and figuratively, she replied, setting her portfolio on his desk with careful movements. But I've always believed adaptability is my strongest. The mug slipped from her hand as she gestured, tumbling in slow motion. Dominic watched, frozen, as it shattered against his pristine marble floor, spilling tea and porcelain shards in a chaotic constellation across the immaculate surface. Silence fell like a guillotine. I am so sorry. Autumn dropped to her knees, frantically gathering the larger pieces. It was a special blend. I made chamomile with lavender and vanilla. I read you prefer coffee, but studies show tea has more sustainable energy benefits, and I thought Ms. Hayes. His voice was arctic. Please stop talking. She looked up, clutching broken porcelain fragments, her green eyes wide with mortification. In 15 years of business, Dominic had fired employees for less. His 3 cardinal rules were legendary: no excuses, no mistakes, no unnecessary emotions. This woman had managed to violate all 3 in under 60 seconds. Yet, instead of dismissal, different words emerged from his mouth. Vivian will show you to your desk. You start tomorrow, 7 a.m. sharp. Confusion, then relief washed over her face. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. I promise you won't regret. That remains to be seen. He pressed the intercom. Vivian, please escort Ms. Hayes out and send maintenance. After they left, Dominic stood at his window, overlooking the London skyline. Why hadn't he fired her? Something in her genuine distress had bypassed his usual defenses, a flicker of something authentic in a world of corporate polish. Troubling. Dominic straightened his cuffs, recalibrating his thoughts. This was merely a practical decision. Training someone new would waste valuable time. Nothing more. But as maintenance cleaned the last traces of chamomile and shattered porcelain, a single question lingered. When was the last time anyone had tried to bring warmth into his cold, perfect world? Paper cuts and silk ties. By her 3rd week at Blackwood Industries, Autumn had established a precarious routine. Arrive at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes before Dominic, prepare his coffee exactly as specified in Vivian's meticulous handover notes. Black single origin Ethiopian, precisely 92 degrees Celsius. Arrange the day's documents in order of priority. Color-coded tabs on the right side only. Despite her best efforts, chaos seemed to follow her like a devoted pet. Today, she'd already smudged ink on a contract requiring a complete reprint, misplaced the Henderson file, found it in the recycling bin, and knocked over a potted succulent, the only plant that had survived Dominic's minimalist purges. Good morning, Mr. Blackwood, she greeted as he strode in, impeccable in a charcoal suit that probably costs more than her monthly rent. Your coffee is on your desk, the quarterly reports are prepared, and I've scheduled a conference call with Tokyo for 7:30. He paused, steel blue eyes sweeping over her workspace. Since her arrival, subtle changes had infiltrated this sterile corner of the office. A small crystal paperweight that caught the morning light, a framed quotation: perfection is not when there is nothing to add, but nothing to take away. And most daringly, a small vase with a single white lily. Ms. Hayes, did you reschedule the Bennett meeting as I requested? Autumn's stomach dropped. The Bennett meeting she'd completely forgotten after spending 3 hours fixing a spreadsheet error yesterday. I'm afraid I overlooked that, Mr. Blackwood. No excuses, she reminded herself. I'll do it immediately. She waited for the ice to form for the cutting dismissal that had reduced the marketing director to tears last week. Instead, Dominic merely checked his watch. See that you do, and bring me the Fairchild proposal in 10 minutes. As he disappeared into his office, Autumn released her breath. 3 weeks of employment felt like a minor miracle given her track record. The whispers from other employees hadn't helped bets on how long she'd last. Theories about why the glacier tolerated her mistakes when others had been fired for less. He's studying you, like a specimen, warned Jessica from accounting during a hurried coffee break. Once he understands why you disrupt his perfect system, he'll eliminate the variable. Autumn had laughed it off, but doubt crept in during quiet moments. Why did he keep her around? At precisely 2:17 p.m., as she was organizing next week's itinerary, Dominic emerged from his office, straightening his silk tie. The board meeting begins in 13 minutes. You'll need to take notes. Autumn froze. Me? But Vivian always mentioned that Patricia from the executive office handles board meetings. Patricia is on leave. You'll suffice. He studied her panicked expression. Is that a problem, Miss Hayes? No, not at all. I just need to grab my tablet and we leave now. He was already walking toward the elevator. The boardroom intimidated even at a distance, all dark wood and leather. Portraits of stern-faced Blackwood patriarchs judging from mahogany frames. 12 board members, average age, average net worth 9 figures, all turned to watch as Autumn stumbled in behind Dominic. For 2 excruciating hours, she typed frantically, trying to capture every nuance of the financial discussion while feeling woefully under. When the ancient Mr. Harrington requested printed copies of last quarter's Asia reports, which no one had mentioned preparing, Autumn thought she might. Faint Ms. Hayes will have those delivered to each of you by end of day, Dominic stated smoothly, not a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. After the meeting, as they returned to the office in silence, Autumn finally gathered her courage. "Mr. Blackwood, I apologize for being unprepared for the meeting. If you'd told me earlier, would that have changed the outcome?" he asked, not unkindly. "Well, I could have prepared better, and the board was satisfied with your performance. The reports will be ready by 5. Is that not correct?" "Yes, but then there's nothing to discuss." He stopped walking, turning to face her directly. "Ms. Hayes, do you know why I maintain such rigid standards?" The question caught her off guard. "Because perfection drives success." Something almost like amusement touched his eyes. "Perfection doesn't exist. Control does. When everything functions according to plan, nothing unexpected occurs. When nothing unexpected occurs, there are no unpleasant surprises." It was the longest personal statement he'd ever made to her. "But life is full of surprises," she ventured carefully. "Not all of them are unpleasant." For a moment, something vulnerable flickered across his face so briefly she might have imagined it. "That hasn't been my experience." He resumed walking. "The reports, Ms. Hayes, by 5. That evening, long after everyone else had left, Autumn finished collating the board reports. Delivering the last one to Dominic's office, she found him standing by the window, silhouette outlined against London's twilight skyline. For a moment, he looked not imposing but solitary. "The reports are complete, Mr. Blackwood." He turned, and in the soft evening light, the harsh lines of his face seemed softened. "You stayed late to finish these." It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "Of course, I said I would. Most people make promises they can't keep." "I'm not most people," she replied with a small smile. "I may knock things over and talk too much, but I keep my word." She could have sworn the corner of his mouth twitched upward before he controlled it. "Good night, Miss Hayes." As she gathered her belongings to leave, she noticed something on her desk that hadn't been there before: a new ceramic mug, elegant in its simplicity, with a small note in precise handwriting for the inevitable tea spills, preferably not on company documents. Autumn smiled, running her finger over the smooth porcelain. Perhaps there was hope for the glacier after all. The Crystal Garden, a company retreat, Autumn repeated, certain she'd misheard, with team-building activities and fun. Dominic's expression suggested she'd proposed alien abduction as a viable business strategy. "The board believes it will improve interdepartmental cohesion. 3 days at the Thornfield estate in the Cotswolds. You'll coordinate logistics." The assignment consumed Autumn's next 2 weeks, organizing accommodation for 50 executives, arranging transportation, planning activities that wouldn't offend Dominic's sensibilities. It was like planning a wedding for the world's most particular groom. When the weekend arrived, Autumn found herself on a luxury coach beside Jessica from accounting, watching rolling countryside replace London's concrete landscape. "I can't believe you pulled this off," Jessica whispered, "and I really can't believe he's actually attending. Blackwood hasn't joined a company retreat in 7 years." Autumn glanced toward the front where Dominic sat alone, reviewing documents. Maybe he's turning over a new leaf, or keeping an eye on his investment. The board forced his hand after that Wellington merger fell through. Apparently, the other company cited cultural incompatibility. "Corporate speak for your CEO terrifies us." The Thornfield estate exceeded expectations. A restored 17th century manor surrounded by meticulously landscaped gardens. As employees settled into their rooms, Autumn supervised final arrangements, checking off items on her color-coded list. "Ms. Hayes." She nearly dropped her tablet as Dominic appeared beside her. "Mr. Blackwood, is your suite satisfactory? Adequate?" He surveyed the great hall where staff arranged welcome cocktails. The agenda for this evening: informal networking, dinner at 7. Then she hesitated. "A team-building exercise called Truth or Triumph." His eyebrow arched. "Explain." "It's like Truth or Dare, but professional. People either answer a question about themselves or complete a business challenge. The HR consultant assured me it's very effective for building trust." "Remove it from the schedule." "I can't, sir." The activities were approved by the board directly. For a moment, his expression darkened, but he merely straightened his cuffs. "Then I'll be retiring after dinner." The evening progressed smoothly until board chairman Theodore Hampton intercepted Dominic's attempt to escape. "Leaving so soon, Blackwood? The real bonding hasn't even begun." What followed was excruciating. One by one, executives answered personal questions or performed ridiculous tasks, from revealing childhood dreams to improvising sales pitches for absurd products. The alcohol flowed freely, loosening tongues and inhibitions. When Dominic's turn came, the room hushed. Hampton, emboldened by whiskey, smiled wickedly. "Truth, Dominic. Tell us something no one here knows about you." Autumn held her breath. Dominic's face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened around his untouched glass. "I collect antique timepieces." His voice was flat. "Mechanical only. Pre 1950. Hampton waved dismissively. "Everyone knows about your watches." "Something personal, man." "What makes the glazier melt?" Tension crackled. Dominic stood abruptly. "I believe I've fulfilled the requirement. Good evening." As he strode out, Hampton called after him, always running away. "Some things never change." The room fell silent. Autumn, without thinking, followed Dominic. She found him in the estate's crystal garden, a Victorian glasshouse filled with exotic plants and illuminated by subtle lights that made the glass structures shimmer like ice formations. He stood motionless before a fountain. "Mr. Blackwood," she approached cautiously. "Are you all right? You should return to the gathering, Miss Hayes. Your absence will be noted. So will yours." She moved beside him. "That was unfair, what Mr. Hampton did. Theodore enjoys provoking reactions. He's been unsuccessful with me for 20 years. Moonlight filtered through the glass ceiling, casting ethereal patterns across his features. For the first time, Autumn saw weariness in the lines around his eyes. "You knew him before Blackwood Industries." A long pause followed. "We attended the same boarding school. He was 3 years ahead." Something in his tone made her ask gently, "Was he unkind to you?" Dominic's laugh held no humor. "Theodore hasn't changed since he was 15, privileged, entitled, cruel to those he considers beneath him. Back then, that included scholarship students who didn't belong to the right families or clubs. You were a scholarship student." The revelation stunned her. The Dominic Blackwood narrative always emphasized inherited wealth and connections. "My father was a watchmaker in Bristol, brilliant with mechanisms, terrible with money." His voice softened with rare affection. "He repaired a pocket watch for the school's headmaster, who discovered I had a talent for mathematics, hence the scholarship." "That explains the watch collection," Autumn said softly. "My sister Emma and I would sit for hours watching him work. She'd make up stories about the people who might have owned each timepiece." "You have a sister." The personal detail felt like a rare gem uncovered. His expression closed immediately. "Had." The single word contained volumes of pain. Autumn didn't press further, but simply stood beside him, watching water cascade over crystal formations. She was 13 when it happened. His voice was so quiet she nearly missed it. "Leukemia, aggressive, unresponsive to treatment. 6 months from diagnosis to ... double quotes he didn't finish. I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Theodore and his friends thought my absence from school was an excellent opportunity to ransack my dormitory. They found the letters I'd written to Emma but never sent, pages of false cheerfulness, promises that everything would be fine." His jaw tightened. "They read them aloud at dinner, created a theatrical performance mocking my commoner sentimentality." Autumn's hand flew to her mouth. "That's monstrous." "I returned to school the day after her funeral to find her photograph defaced on my desk." His voice remained clinically detached, as if describing a business transaction rather than trauma. "That's when I learned an essential truth. Emotions are vulnerabilities others will exploit. Perfection is armor." The revelation explained so much as rigid control, his intolerance for mistakes, his emotional distance, not natural coldness, but a fortress built from childhood pain. "But armor is heavy," Autumn said gently, "and it keeps everything out, not just the bad things. That's the point. Is it worth it, living behind walls so thick not even you can break through them?" He turned to her, moonlight reflecting in eyes that suddenly seemed less like ice and more like deep water. "What would you suggest as an alternative, Miss Hayes? Embracing chaos and vulnerability? Maybe just selective vulnerability, with people who've earned your trust? And how does one identify such unicorns?" There was genuine curiosity beneath his sarcasm. Autumn smiled softly. "They're the ones who see your broken pieces and don't try to exploit them or fix them. They just acknowledge them as part of who you are." For a moment, something shifted in his expression, a hairline crack in perfect marble. "An interesting theory." He checked his watch. "It's late. The marketing presentation begins at 9 tomorrow." As they walked back toward the main building, Dominic paused. "Miss Hayes... Autumn. What happened tonight stays in the crystal garden," she finished for him. "Some truths belong just to those who were present when they were spoken." He nodded once, a gesture containing more gratitude than any words could express. That night, Autumn lay awake, turning their conversation over in her mind. The glimpse behind Dominic's perfect facade hadn't revealed a monster, but a man who'd learned too young that vulnerability led to pain. The revelation didn't excuse his coldness but explained it, and explanation was the first step toward understanding. She wondered if anyone had ever truly seen Dominic Blackwood, or if he'd spent so long behind his armor that he'd forgotten the person beneath it existed. Asterisk. Thunder without sound. The retreat changed something between them, invisible to others but undeniable to Autumn. Small shifts appeared in their daily interactions. Dominic asked her opinion on the Westfield proposal. He actually acknowledged her good mornings. Once, she even caught him staring thoughtfully at the lily on her desk. These fragile changes crashed down on a stormy Tuesday afternoon when Autumn overheard Dominic's conversation with Theodore Hampton. "The Singapore acquisition requires decisive action," Hampton was saying. "The board questions whether you're still the man to provide it." Asterisk. "The board? Or you specifically, Theodore?" Dominic's voice remained controlled. "You've gone soft, Dominic. First the Wellington merger collapses. Now you're hesitating on Singapore, and that assistant of yours keeping a walking disaster on payroll. People notice these inconsistencies. Miss Hayes' employment is none of your concern. Everything about this company is my concern. I've backed you for years, but my patience has limits." Singapore closes by month end, or we discuss leadership alternatives. You're promoting me to creative director. She couldn't hide her shock. Only if you want it. No obligation either way. He hesitated, though I admit, selfishly, I'd miss our daily interactions. The admission hung between them, more revealing than any declaration. What if... Autumn gathered her courage. What if we didn't have to give those up? The daily interactions, I mean, that would be... acceptable. His voice softened. More than acceptable. Even though I'll probably still spill things and mix up files occasionally. I'm discovering that perfection is overrated. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining. Authenticity, however, is irreplaceable. In that moment, the last of his ice walls melted, not in a dramatic crash, but in a quiet surrender to something stronger than fear. Later, as evening painted London's skyline in watercolor hues, they stood together by his office window. Dominic's arm rested lightly around her, wasted gesture that would have seemed impossible mere weeks ago. You never asked what I decided last night, he said quietly. About the Singapore acquisition. About us. Autumn smiled, leaning slightly against him. I think you just told me. Outside, the city lights began emerging, countless imperfect points of brightness against the gathering darker, beautiful disorder that, viewed from a distance, created its own perfect pattern. Much like life itself,